The observation deck of the Talon's Reach hummed with the low thrum of plasma drives as the warship cut through the void between star systems. Lola stood at the viewport, her small frame dwarfed by the massive bulkheads designed for the ship's primary crew. The Cravathi, apex predators who'd conquered 47 worlds before humanity had even discovered fire. She shouldn't have been there at all. Human, rumbled a voice behind her, deep enough to vibrate through the deck plating. You persist in occupying command spaces. Lola turned to face Battle Commander Zrak, 3 meters of scaled muscle and razor-sharp intelligence wrapped in ceremonial armor. His crest flared amber, disapproval tinged with curiosity. Behind him, 2 Cravathi juveniles peered around his bulk, their golden eyes fixed on her with unblinking intensity. "Just watching the stars, Commander," Lola said, offering a slight smile. "Your ship has the best view in the fleet." Zrak's secondary eyelids flickered. In the 6 months since humanity had joined the Galactic Assembly, not as conquerors or conquered, but as something the ancient civilizations found profoundly unsettling, equals, the Cravathi had struggled to categorize these strange, soft creatures. Humans had no natural weapons, no armor plating, no venom sacs, yet they'd arrived in ships that made Cravathi dreadnoughts look primitive, speaking languages they shouldn't have been able to learn, solving problems that had stymied assembly scientists for generations, and they did things like smile at battle commanders. "The young ones accompany me for instruction," Zrak said, gesturing to the cubs. "They are Kira and Vesh, clutchmates from the breeding pools of Cravath Prime. They must learn discipline aboard warships before their adult molt." Lola crouched, bringing herself closer to eye level with the juveniles. They were each the size of a large dog, already sporting developing claws and the distinctive cranial ridges of their species. Kira, the slightly larger of the two, had crest spines that glowed a curious violet. Vesh's scales bore the darker bronze pattern of a warrior caste. "Hey there," Lola said softly. "Pretty brave, flying on a warship so young." Kira's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "You smell of fear-not scent," she said in heavily accented galactic common. "This is wrong for prey things," Vesh hissed agreement. "Humans confuse the nose. Confuse the mind thoughts too." Lola laughed, a sound that made both cubs flinch. "Yeah, we get that a lot. Sorry, laughing is just... it's something we do when we're happy." "It's not a threat display," Zrak rumbled. "I must attend to bridge duties. The cubs may remain here for observation period. They are old enough to not consume you." A pause. "Probably." Before Lola could respond, the commander strode away, leaving her alone with 2 predators who could probably tear through her throat with minimal effort. The cubs watched her with unnerving stillness the way cats watched birds. "So," Lola said, standing slowly, "want to see something cool?" 20 minutes later, Carter found them. The human engineer had been searching for Lola to discuss the quantum manifold calibrations, but stopped dead when he entered the observation deck. His partner sat cross-legged on the floor and wrapped around her, literally wrapped, like 2 scaly cats who'd found the galaxy's most comfortable spot, were the Cravathi cubs. More specifically, Lola had produced her thermal blanket, the standard issue item every human carried on Cravathi ships where the temperature averaged 20 degrees Celsius, too cold for comfort. The silvery fabric lay draped across all 3 of them, but that wasn't the remarkable part. The remarkable part was that Kira and Vesh were arguing. "The corner piece with the soft fold is mine," Kira hissed, her claws attempting to gather more of the blanket. "You already have the human's warm side," Vesh countered, tugging the opposite corner. "The fold corner is proper sharing." Hey, Lola interjected, her hands gently separating the 2. "There's enough blanket for everyone. Look, Kira, you can have this corner with the tag. Vesh, you get this corner here and I'll squeeze in the middle." Carter cleared his throat. Both cubs' heads snapped toward him with predatory precision, their pupils contracting to slits. Then Kira's crest flared blue, recognition. The other human, the one who fixed our den chamber's warm maker. Carter raised his hands in a placating gesture. "That's me. Just checking on my friend here. Making sure she hasn't been, eaten." Lola grinned. "Carter, meet Kira and Vesh. We're having a cultural exchange about the concept of sharing." "It is difficult," Vesh admitted, settling back under the blanket portion he'd claimed. "Cravathi young fight for resources. The strongest claims the best. But the human says there is enough for all. This is strange thinking. It's pack thinking," Lola explained, adjusting the blanket so both cubs were fully covered. Humans are social creatures. We survive better when we cooperate. When one of us has something good, like warmth, we share it. That way everyone benefits. Kira's tongue flicked thoughtfully. But you are not strong like Kravathi. How did humans become apex without fighting for resources? Carter crouched beside them, his own breath misting slightly in the cold air. We did fight. For thousands of years. But we also figured out that fighting ourselves was wasting energy. We got better at including more people in our pack. First families, then tribes, then nations, and eventually our whole species. The ones who shared and cooperated, they survived more often than the ones who just fought. Illogical, Vesh said, but his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced of his own argument. Strength should triumph. Strength does, Lola said, pulling the blanket tighter around them as another wave of cold air cycled through the deck. But there are different kinds of strength. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is make sure everyone has what they need. The cubs fell silent, processing this. Outside the viewport, a nebula bloomed in shades of purple and gold. The birthplace of stars where matter itself learned to cooperate. After a long moment, Kira shifted closer to Vesh, adjusting her portion of the blanket so it overlapped with his. Perhaps, she said quietly, sharing makes the warmth bigger. Battle Commander Zrak found them an hour later, still huddled together under the human's thermal blanket. His combat-ready posture softened when he saw his cubs sleeping peacefully against the human female. Their breathing synchronized, their crests glowing the soft green of contentment. The human male stood nearby, having draped his own blanket over the pile. They've never been this calm, Zrak said softly. Always fighting, always challenging. It's the Kravathi way, Carter smiled. Maybe they just needed to learn there's another way. Humans have a saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. When you help others, you help yourself. Zrak's crest flared contemplative silver. The Galactic Assembly had feared humanity's weapons, their technology, their impossible adaptability, but perhaps those weren't humanity's most dangerous traits. Perhaps the truly terrifying thing about humans was that they could take two predator cubs, programmed by evolution to fight over everything, and teach them to share a blanket and argue over which corner was best, of course, because that, Zrak was beginning to understand, was also very human, finding joy and connection even in small disagreements, turning competition into play, transforming resources into gifts. He left the observation deck quietly, his mind already composing his report to the Assembly. They'd need to recalibrate their threat assessments. Humanity wasn't dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they made everyone around them want to be better, even predators who'd forgotten they could be anything else.